Hi, this is Elisa with XYZ Wellness. Thank you for joining me for another yoga practice. And today we're going to allow ourselves to feel a little bit grounded. We're going to start out seated on the floor. So we could either be sitting on a block, or if you have a couch cushion, maybe a pillow from your bed, or if you'd like to be on the ground, that's fine too. But oftentimes we can find that if we sit up on something, it can help protect the lower back, allowing us to keep the natural curve in our spine. So rather than slouching or rounding, and then we can have that length in the spine. And it also keeps our hips higher than our knees. So finding your comfortable seat, one in which you can have that length in your spine, and maybe allowing the eyes to soften or close, just turning your awareness inward. And your palms can either be face up in a gesture of receiving, or you can have your hands with your palms touching your thighs. As you begin to notice your breath, and as we shift our awareness inward, you might notice already that maybe your body and your mind starts to quiet a little bit. And we can start to notice our breath here, noticing any qualities or texture of your breath, noticing if it gets stuck anywhere or if it's smooth and steady. Noticing any parts of the body that might be feeling achy or tight. And then maybe making an intention for yourself that as we move through the practice, that if you notice any of those areas, that you might be a little more compassionate to that part of your body. And as we move through the practice, always choosing whatever variations or modifications fit your body today. So even if I'm moving through a certain flow or a certain posture in a way that fits my body, but knowing that you can choose the one that fits your body. So it's not about making our bodies fit the poses, it's about making the poses fit our bodies. We never need to look like anybody else in our poses. So just letting go of any expectations or judgments, letting go of any competition as we allow the breath to move in and out through the nose here. We can start to come to a 3-part breath, inhaling through the nose and letting the belly expand, and then the chest, and then all the way up to the throat. And then exhaling, reversing that, emptying the breath from the throat and the mouth, and then letting the chest and then the ribs contract, and then all the way down to the belly. So when we find ourselves in this 3-part breath, you might notice that the diaphragm moves. So we're coming into a diaphragmatic form of breathing. A lot of times we breathe primarily in the chest, but we want that breath to come all the way down to the belly. It's more soothing to the body and the mind. Every time you inhale, inviting a sense of expansion. And then every time you exhale, inviting that sense of letting go of anything that no longer serves you. Again, letting go of those expectations and judgments. Letting go of competition with anybody else, but especially with yourself. So a lot of times we judge ourselves and compete with an idealized version of ourselves. Letting go of all those things, letting go of anything that no longer serves you, letting go of limiting beliefs, any thoughts that might be holding you back. And then from here, you can either keep your eyes closed or you can open them. We're going to start getting into our necks a little bit. So anytime we're tense and tight, the neck and the shoulders are one of the first places that feel it. So we're just going to make some small circles with the nose. So bringing your attention to the tip of your nose, and we'll start out very small, going in one direction a few times, and eyes again can either be open or they can still be softly shut, Sometimes it feels better to have the eyes open so you can see where your head is going. And we'll come back to center and we'll reverse that. So we'll start small. And only making this movement as big as feels good to the back of your neck. So you might notice an area where you get stuck or it's a little tight. There's maybe a little hiccup in your circle. That's okay. And then coming back to center, maybe we'll shrug our shoulders up, inhaling, and then exhaling them all the way down. Do that 2 more times. Inhaling up, exhaling back and down. One more. Inhaling, and then exhaling, feeling that release. So coming to a flowing breath now, we want to invite some movement into the body. We'll inhale, sweeping the arms out and then overhead. And using that exhale to bring hands back to the space of your heart. Inhaling, maybe bringing your eyes up towards the fingertips and exhaling down. If it feels better, you can keep your gaze forward. And if you have any shoulder issues, maybe only coming up part of the way. Remembering we always want to honor our body. So if there's any movement that doesn't feel good, always adjusting it to fit your body today. Knowing that every single day, whenever we come to the mat, we're always just a little bit different. One more time like this. Bring hands down to our laps. If we are on a prop, whether it's a block or a pillow, we'll set it off to the side. Bringing hands behind the body. And taking feet about hip width apart or maybe a little further. We'll windshield wiper the knees from one side to the other. Getting into the front of our hips. So hips are another area that hold a lot of tension. So that's why oftentimes they're very tight. They hold tension and emotions. So we want to kind of loosen that up a little bit, especially if this is our first movement of the day coming into our yoga practice. So if we've been still or if we've been seated at a desk, a lot of us are working online right now. So just giving the body a little bit of an opportunity to start to wake up before we continue to flow some more. And then one more time to each direction. Making our way onto hands and knees. We're going to do a flow for the shoulders. So this is called thread the needle. And you might want your block or your pillow nearby. We'll start out on hands and knees. And we'll place hands directly underneath shoulders. If you have any type of wrist issues coming onto this for wrists, knees are under the hips. You might add some padding underneath the knees as well. So again, we're going to flow here before we hold this stretch. We'll inhale, sweeping the right arm up to the sky, maybe looking to that hand. And then as we exhale, bringing that right arm through. So we're hovering a few inches off the ground. And then we'll inhale, opening, looking up, exhaling, rotating through. The whole time I'm doing this, I'm trying to keep my hips level. So both hips are pointing down towards the floor. And then this time, after this big in-breath, we'll exhale, bringing the right arm down to the floor, bringing the right ear down to the floor as well. Now, if this is too much for your neck, you can come back into that table pose, or you might try placing a pillow underneath the right side of the head. We're pressing the right forearm into the mat. We're getting a really nice stretch into the back of the right shoulder. Left hand can stay just as it is. You might extend it forward, or even up, getting a stretch and opening for that shoulder as well, a little bit of mobility into that left shoulder. Again, honoring any sensations your body's feeling. So if this isn't happening for you, coming back into tabletop. Now, if we have that left hand either by the right hip or up to the sky, we'll bring that left hand back where we started. We'll come back into tabletop pose, reset the body, and we'll do that on the other side. So we're just flip around so that I can continue to face you. And now on the left side, we'll inhale, left arm up, exhaling through. So when we lift that left arm, you might notice a little different range of motion. One side might be tighter than the other. Getting a nice rotation through the torso. And then bringing that left arm down to the floor. Again, you might cushion the left ear. The right arm can stay where it is, or you might choose any of those other positions that we offered for that right arm. And if you need more sensation for that left shoulder, actively pushing the left forearm into the ground is going to increase the sensation. Bringing that right hand back to where we started in front of the left forearm. We'll come back into our tabletop. So after that stretch for the shoulders, you might need maybe some cat and cow or any other movement here on hands and knees. And for cat and cow, we want to think about starting both movements all the way down at your tailbone, at the base of the spine, and then traveling one vertebra at a time. Cow pose, we let the belly drop, shoulders draw in towards each other, and then as we exhale, the tailbone drops, and we'll round the spine up towards the sky, pushing that floor away from us with our strong upper body. So you can do that a few times, moving with your breath, as quickly or as slowly as feels good. Massaging out the length of the spine. One more time, just like this. And then coming through our neutral spine, through our tabletop, and we're going to shift back in the child's pose. If at any point child's pose isn't comfortable, remember we can come right back here. So always listening to your body. Big toes can come together, knees can stay where they are, or if you'd like a little more room for the body, letting the knees be as wide as the mat as we sink our hips towards the heels. Forehead can come down to the floor if it makes it there. If not, stacking your hands or that pillow or block underneath the forehead. Bringing your awareness now into the sacrum, the base of the spine, inviting a sense of space into the sacrum, sending the breath, and noticing any other sensations right here. So you might be aware of the ankles or the shoulders, and you can adjust any body parts that you might need. So if there's any discomfort for the knees, maybe placing a blanket or towel under the knees or between the calves and the thighs. And then extending the arms forward. So we're in our extended child's pose, and we're going to walk both hands off the left side of the mat, creating space into the right shoulder now and into the ribs, all along the right side of the torso. Walking hands across your yoga mat or across the floor. If you're skipping your yoga mat today, we'll just let the left hand reach forward. Breathing into the left side body. Inhaling, we'll come back to center, taking one breath here. And then coming back into our table pose. So now we have our knees back in line with our hips if they were wide. We'll sink back towards child's pose. We'll tuck the toes under and letting the fingertips crawl towards the top of your mat, spreading the fingers wide. Middle fingers are pointing towards the top of the mat. And then we'll tuck our toes under, lifting hips high to the sky. Knees can be bent as much as you'd like here. Pressing the hips up and keeping that back elongated. And then maybe walking your dog. Waking up the toes and the bottoms of the feet. You might feel this into the ankles and your Achilles tendons. So if you're a walker or a runner, this might feel really good, or if you spend any time in high heel shoes, getting into the backs of the calves. And coming up onto the balls of the feet, lifting both heels up towards the sky, engaging the belly button in towards the spine. We'll exhale, heels towards the ground. Even if they don't make it all the way there, that's fine. Lowering knees down to the mat. We'll untuck the toes. Then we'll shift back into our child's pose. Any variation that feels good right here. I'm going to inhale back into our table. So remember, we always have options for wrists. Then extending the right foot back. So we're calling the right toes under. And we're keeping the upper body really firm here. We're pushing the floor away from us with a strong upper body. Creating strength into the core, into the arms. And then we'll exhale, bringing that right knee in. Inhaling, extending the left leg. The heel goes towards the back wall. And you might notice some sensation into that thigh muscle as we engage that thigh, drawing the belly button in as well. I'm just going to switch sides a couple times like that. Inhaling to extend a leg. And then exhaling, come back to center. This time, we're going to extend that right heel towards the back wall. Toes are curled under. And you can stay right here if this is feeling good, if that's enough sensation. Or if you'd like, you can lift that hip or the heel up to hip height. So maybe staying there once again, or you can cross that right foot over to the left side. Staying here once again, or we can turn this into a modified side plank. Inhaling, opening that right arm up towards the sky. Arms are stacked. And then exhaling, bringing that right hand down. We'll uncross the legs. Maybe give those hips a little shimmy, a little shake. Find a cat or cow if that feels good. And we can try that all again on the other side. So this time, left toes come to the floor, engaging that thigh. And remember, you can stop anywhere along the way here. You could choose to hang out here or go back into your cat and cow. You might lift that foot so it's in line with the hip. And when we do that, we feel a little contraction into that left glute. And then maybe crossing that left foot over to the right side. Then inhaling into that modified side plank pose. Looking up or looking down. Exhaling, we'll lower that left hand down if it was lifted. We'll uncross the legs. And again, maybe some circles here or a little bit of shimmy or shake. And anytime we circle, if you are circling, we'll go the opposite direction. And then giving our wrists a little bit of love, we'll come onto our heels, or we could be up, maybe kneeling a little higher, and we'll just circle the wrists, circling them in both directions. We can extend the arm in front of us, letting the fingertips point down towards the floor, drawing that wrist in. So these wrist moves that we're doing right here, these are just suggestions. If it feels better to shake the wrist out or maybe to squeeze the wrist, you can do that. And then coming on to our heels, we're in hero's pose. We're going to come to a flow called lightning bolt. So we're going to inhale, lifting up, reaching both arms overhead. Exhaling, extending the arms forward. Forehead can come to the floor, forearms are down as well. And before we move on, we're going to think about the abdomen and thinking about your core. So drawing navel in towards the spine, embracing everything in as if you were wearing a corset. And using that strong core stability, we're going to inhale to lift back up. Exhaling, lowering down. Finding that strong core as we inhale to lift. And exhale to lower. So hips are coming all the way back to the feet. So we're staying a little bit more forward and maybe stacking those hips closer towards the knees. So we started out more in child's pose. But now we're finding ourselves not going all that far back. So So this next time we're going to inhale, sweeping both arms up to the sky. As we exhale, left hand comes behind the low back and right arm comes down. Inhaling to lift, sweeping both arms up. Exhaling, we'll bring the right hand behind the low back down towards the sacrum. Switching sides with your breath, moving here at your own perfect pace. Feeling the ground underneath your body as we switch from one side to the other. One more time to each direction. After this one, so this next time, we can either return to the original version with both arms up and both arms coming forward, or we can bring both hands to the low back, forehead comes towards the floor, engaging through the core and using a strong core center to help us lift. So if that's too much, you can bring those hands back down to the floor, forearms as well. So after alternating sides, we're just trying to find a little bit of symmetry in the body, moving both arms in the same manner. We'll make this next one the last one. And then as we exhale, this time we will bring the arms in front of the body and we'll sit back into our child's pose. Keeping the hands extending forward. We'll stay here for just a breath. We're going to make our way to the front of the mat. So if you'd like to step forward from here, from a kneeling posture, or we can lift into a downward facing dog. Lifting hips to the sky, pressing the chest back towards the thighs. Inhaling, we can look forward if we're in our downward facing dog, and then exhaling, we'll take a walk to the top of our mats. Staying here in a forward fold, shaking out the head and neck. Keeping knees bent as much as feels good. So when we bend the knees, that really helps protect our hamstrings and the low back. So always keeping at least a little bit of a bend in the knees, never locking them out. And still having that strong core center. We're going to inhale, deepening the bend in our knees. Reverse swan dive. Exhaling, hands come to the heart center. From here, we're going to take a big step on our mat. So we're facing the long edge of the mat now. Toes are going towards the outer edges. And knees and toes are tracking in the same direction. We're going to find a sun pose. So first, rooting down through the feet, finding the four corners of each foot. So the base of the big toe and the baby toe, and the inner edge and the outer edge of the heels. We'll bring arms to about shoulder height, still keeping a little bit of a bend in the elbows as well, and we'll reach and open through the chest, honoring our sun goddess. And then inhaling, we're going to lift. We're going to come into moon flow, exhaling, elbows towards ribs, either to cactus arms or in closer towards the ribs, and finding your squat here, so only coming down as deep as feels good to you. Inhaling to lift and exhaling to lower. Creating a little bit of heat and warmth in the body. Moving with your breath. Maybe looking up or looking down. Or you can even close your eyes, getting into that feeling in the body. So just allowing those sensations, allowing what is, being with what is. Waking up the hips, creating space and openness into the hips. Remember, they carry a lot of emotion, so they might be a little tight. And anytime we get into the hips, you might have a release, either a physical release or an emotional release, and that's okay. From here, we're going to come into sunflowers, exhaling, hinging at the hips, circling the arms, keeping the head above the heart. And if you're crossing your arms, maybe trying to alternate whichever one comes in front. That might be tricky. Sometimes we forget which one went in front the last time. You do just a couple more like this. Big breath. So inhaling up, exhaling down. We'll make this next one the last one. And coming back into our sun goddess pose. So maybe noticing if you have a little different depth here in your pose, maybe after the legs have warmed up a little bit, you might find you can go a little deeper into your pose, into your squat. And inhaling up, we'll exhale, hands to the heart. And we'll bring our feet back into mountain pose. So hips and knees are in alignment. And we're going to peek down, making sure all 10 toes are facing the front. Sometimes without being aware of it, we might actually stand with our feet out or 1 foot out and 1 foot in. So just peeking down, making sure that our feet are parallel, all 10 toes are facing in the same direction towards the front. Hips are directly over the knees, knees are over ankles. And we're going to move through chair. Taking a big breath in. Then as we exhale, sinking the hips back. Arms could be in front of the body. You could have them at prayer or maybe on the thighs. And to come out of this, to lift back up, we're going to press the heels down and inhale up. Turning this into a flowing movement. Using your in-breath always to lift, the exhale to sit into those legs. And you can stay here for an extra breath or two, an extra beat. Getting some added strength for the glutes and the thighs. So feeling that strong connection between our feet and the earth. The earth is rising up to meet us, holding us here. And this next time we come into our chair, you can choose to stay right here, maybe bringing hands to the heart if they're forward. Or if you'd like, you can turn this into a little bit of balance. You can alternate lifting one heel and maybe the other, or you can lift both the heels. Whoops, and then bringing those heels down. We can try that one more time if we came out of our pose too soon. And noticing all the places that are feeling maybe that little shake. We'll bring heels down and we'll inhale, lifting up. Exhaling, arms down. We'll roll those shoulders back and down, feeling that openness across the chest and the shoulders. Maybe hugging onto an imaginary beach ball. We want to create some openness once again, broadening across the collarbones. So you can hug your beach ball, or maybe holding on to opposite elbows. Or if you have the mobility in your shoulders, you might interlace fingers behind the back. And when we interlace fingers, sometimes we'll find a space between the palms, or you can try to bring those palms towards each other. And it all just depends on how your shoulders are feeling right now, especially if you have any type of shoulder issues. And lifting through that chest. You might let your gaze go up towards the ceiling, maybe between the wall and the ceiling. And then if you'd like, we can soften those knees, creating a little more of a knee bend. And exhaling, we can hinge at the hips, coming into a forward fold, letting those hands reach up towards the sky. Exhaling, hands come to the floor. And again, maybe choosing to stay here for just a moment or two. We can hold on to opposite elbows, adding a little ragdoll, gently swaying from one side to the other. Releasing those hands down towards the floor. We're going to inhale, reverse swan dive. So we're getting ready to move through some sun salutations. And we'll start out on knees. Maybe adding in some options and choosing whatever feels best to you today. Inhaling, arms reach up, elbows or soft, shoulders are down away from the ears. We're going to exhale, hinging forward, coming into forward fold. Inhaling to look forward. Exhaling, crown of the head towards the floor. We'll step the right foot back, lowering the knee down to the floor, untucking those toes. Hands can stay on the ground, or if you'd like, we can come into a lifted posture. Maybe reaching those arms to the sky, or if that's not appropriate for today, hands could be at prayer or on that front thigh. Letting our gaze be soft. Exhaling, hands to the floor. We'll step the left foot back. Coming into child's pose. Finding that elongation in the spine. And from here, we're going to inhale, shifting the body forward. Exhale, we're going to lower. So either lowering the body as one unit all the way down to the floor, or you can pause, stopping there in chaturanga or crocodile push-up. And then coming all the way down. We'll uncurl the toes if they were tucked under. Elbows and shoulders draw away from the ears. And coming into baby cobra, we're going to inhale, lifting just the chin and the chest away from the floor. The spine is doing the work here, so we're not pressing down into the hands. And then we will bring hands back down to the floor as we exhale, letting the spine elongate. Pressing firmly into the hands now, we'll inhale, coming into that push-up or reverse push-up. Exhaling back into child's pose. Inhaling to step that right foot to the top of the mat. Right knee is over the ankle now. So we're in our low lunge. Any options for the hands and the upper body as we lift through the chest. So prayer, we can open, or maybe even finding those cactus arms that we were exploring, or moonflowers. Getting that broadening across the collarbones. Exhaling, hands come to the floor. We'll lift that back knee and then stepping into our forward fold at the top of the mat. Inhale, reverse swan dive. And then exhaling, we'll sit into chair pose. Inhaling up, exhaling, forward fold. Inhaling to look forward, coming into monkey pose, lifting through the belly. Exhaling, rounding. We'll step the left foot back. And this time you have the option to lower the knee down to the floor, or you can keep that knee lifted. Hands could be on our blocks. Or you might choose to lift. So choosing an arm option here. Or you can be on that back knee. And then exhaling, hands come to the floor. Stepping the right foot back to meet the left, either coming into a downward facing dog with hands on blocks or on the ground, or you could be in your child's pose once again. From here, we can stay exactly where we are in child's pose or downward facing dog, or we can add in our flow that half series vinyasa where we shift the hips forward into plank, toes or knees. And coming forward on the toes, if we're in that full plank, we'll exhale down, coming into chaturanga. And then inhaling, lifting. You can find either cobra pose or upward facing dog, lifting the legs away from the ground. Shoulders are down away from the ears. And then flipping the toes to come into downward facing dog, or we can shift back into child's pose. Taking a breath here. On the next inhale, we'll step that left foot to the top of the mat. So now we're in our lunge on the other side. Right knee can be on the ground or it can be lifted. Hands can stay on blocks, or we can choose an arm option on this side. Exhaling, coming into a position with hands on the ground, and we'll step that right foot to the top of the mat, coming into forward fold. We're going to add that flat back. Inhaling halfway, gaze comes down to the floor, and then exhaling, forward fold. Inhaling to sweep up, and then exhaling, sitting into chair pose. Inhaling, bringing hands together at the heart. We're going to do 2 more rounds of sun salutations. So I'm going to add in some options, and you can pick and choose whatever feels good. And if you'd like to stay at that version where we first started on knees, I invite you to do that as well. So sweeping up on an in-breath. We'll exhale, forward fold. Crown of the head towards the floor. And as we inhale, elongating spine, gaze comes down to the floor. We'll exhale, hands come down, and we'll step the right foot back, keeping that knee lifted, or you can bring the knee all the way down to the floor. We're going to add in a twist here. So if you're on your knees, you can bring hands to heart, or you can take that right hand, take it to the floor, to a block. Left hand can come to that front thigh. We'll inhale, lengthening the spine, and then exhaling as we twist over to the left side, keeping that hand on the thigh or opening the arms. Or remembering we can have those hands at prayer position as we twist to the left. Exhaling, we'll come back to face the front. And then stepping back into your choice of child's pose or downward facing dog. Choosing to stay still or adding in our Vinyasa flow. So coming forward into plank maybe. And if you choose plank, you can be on toes or on knees. We'll inhale forward, exhaling to lower, either all the way down, and then lifting into Cobra or upward facing dog. And exhaling, child's pose or downward facing dog. On the next in-breath, stepping the right foot to the top of the mat, coming into your low lunge, or you can be in a crescent lunge with that back knee lifted. Option to add in a twist, bringing hands to prayer, or left hand to the floor, right hand to the thigh as we inhale, then exhaling, twisting to the right. Turning your head and neck in any direction that feels good. Exhaling to face the front of the mat. If that back knee is down, we'll tuck the toes under and lift the knee. And then stepping into a forward fold. Inhaling, extending the spine, drawing that belly button in. And exhaling, forward fold. Inhaling to lift. And then exhaling, sitting into chair pose. One last option or opportunity for our sun salutation. Exhaling for that forward fold. Inhaling to lift halfway. Hands could be on shins or on our blocks. And then exhaling, forward fold. This time stepping the left foot back. So this time we're going to change it up a little bit. We'll inhale, lifting. So maybe arms are lifted, or they could be on that front thigh. We can bring hands to the heart for this one. And either staying just as we are, or we can plug that left elbow to the right thigh, twisting to the right. Hands could be pressing into each other. We're in a prayer twist here, so the right palm is pressing into the left, and we're lifting up and out of that. Or you can bring that left hand back to the floor. So choosing whichever feels better there. Exhale, coming into, or inhale, coming back into our low lunge. We'll step the right foot back. And again, choosing your options, staying here in downward facing dog or adding in your Vinyasa, or you can be in child's pose. Honoring whatever the body needs, and knowing we don't always need to make the same choice each time around. If you are flowing, we'll come back into child's pose or downward facing dog. And taking a big step with that left foot. Left knee is over the ankle. Right knee is lifted or on the ground. And then maybe lifting up. Lifting through that chest. Hands can come to prayer. And then again, option for that twist, you can plug that right elbow to the left knee. Pressing palms into one another. Lifting up and away. And either staying there, Or if that's not feeling good, you can bring that right hand to the floor, maybe opening through the arms, opening through the chest. Inhaling to come back to face the front. If the rear knee is down, we'll lift it. And then big step into forward fold. Inhaling halfway, flat back. Exhaling forward fold. Inhaling to lift. And then exhaling, sitting into chair pose. Inhaling to the sky. And exhaling, arms back down alongside the body. Coming back into our mountain pose. We'll roll those shoulders, opening wide, palms are facing forward so we can have that expansion. And we're going to come into our balance for today. So today we're going to explore either tree pose or standing balancing pigeon. So for tree, we'll start first in our mountain, finding that sensation of rooting down once again. So thinking about creating that foundation, finding the four corners of the feet, and bringing our weight into the right leg. We'll first come onto the toes. So we have a few different options here. We can come onto the toes of that left foot, lifting that heel. So that might be enough of a balance for you. And remembering balance is kind of like a bus route, and there are different bus stops. And you can pick whichever stop you want to stay at. You might bring that foot out to the side, turning that right knee out to the side a little bit, lifting through that heel. Or you can bring that heel closer to the body. So when we have that foot out a little further, we have a little more stability. When we bring the foot in, we find a little bit more of a balance challenge. So maybe staying here, lifting up, engaging root lock, mula bandha, as we lift through the pelvic floor. And that's going to help create a little bit of stability there. You might notice that already. Hands could be at prayer, or any way that feels good. They can be out as well. So staying there, or you can bring that foot to the calf or to the thigh. Just being very mindful to keep the foot off the knee. Or if we want to turn that into our standing balancing pigeon, maybe bringing the ankle just above the knee. The knee is still out towards the side, and we can stay upright or sitting down to any degree. Relaxing the throat and the jaw. And remembering wherever you are in this pose is exactly where you're meant to be today. So letting go of any judgments, letting go of expectations. Breathing into that right hip. We'll inhale, lifting. Coming out of that, maybe giving the wrists or the arms, the legs a little shake. And we'll come to the other side. So again, we don't need both sides to look the same, so letting go of any ideas that they need to. And finding what fits this side of the body. Starting first in your mountain, finding that strength, finding that power of mountain as we keep the knees soft. And then remembering those variations, starting out maybe a little bit wider with your tree. Or you can bring that heel in, coming into a low tree. Maybe bringing the foot to the calf or to the thigh. Or we can find that standing, balancing figure four, pigeon pose. Now, if we're in that pigeon pose, we want to make sure that the lifted foot is flexed, and that's going to protect the knee. And then only coming down, so it's almost like our chair pose, or we're sitting back and down. And only coming down as far as feels good. So if you start to notice that the low back's uncomfortable, or you're rounding towards the floor, then lifting that chest and maybe coming up a little higher. Feeling any of those little tiny movements in the ankle and the calf. That means those muscles are getting stronger. And then inhaling, lift up and out. Maybe some circles here for the hips. Have a little bit of fun with it. We're going to come into one last mountain pose at the front of our mats. Letting our shoulders come down away from the ears. And maybe even noticing that sometimes we wind up where our shoulders are all the way up here, just relaxing them back and down towards our back pockets. We'll inhale, reverse swan dive, or actually, we're coming into our swan dive, so we'll exhale, forward fold. And then coming down onto hands and knees. we're just going to go through a couple rounds of cat and cow. So you might choose to stay here in cat and cow. Or if you'd like, we can come up onto the knees and we can come into camel pose. So walking your hands in towards the body. Either making fists, bringing the fists on either side of the sacrum, or hands can be so that the palm of the hand is on the low back and fingertips are down on either side of the sacrum. We'll hug elbows in towards each other, shoulder blades are drawing in towards each other. As we start to come into a little bit of a back bend, opening the front of the body, so we're actively opening through the hip flexor that gets tight from sitting, and we're opening again across the chest and shoulders. Maybe looking up to that line between the wall and the ceiling. Be really careful to not overly arch the neck back. So if you notice that you're having any difficulty swallowing here, bringing the chin closer to the chest. And then very carefully we'll come out of this. We'll bring hands back to the floor. So after that big deep back bend, we might really enjoy the cat pose. So just one or two like that. And then bringing our bottoms to the floor. We're going to have an option for a fish pose. So this is kind of like what we did with our camel pose as far as it being a chest opener, but it's really mild. And if you have blocks nearby, that's great. If not, you could use a rolled up towel, or you can skip this and just lie on your back with knees in towards your chest. So what we're going to do first is we're going to take one block on its lowest side, and we're going to place it between the shoulder blades. It's going to be on the ground, so we kind of have to judge this. And then the other block can be at the second height. So you see here, this one's on its lowest height, this one's on its second height. And we're going to start to bring our body down towards the blocks, coming down onto the elbows. And I set this up just right, but you might need to maneuver around with this a little bit. And then bring the arms out to the side. It's almost as if we're in T-shape here. Legs can be extended, but if that's too much, you can bend your knees. And if this is too much, remember, you can always take the blocks away and just bring knees to chest. But for a lot of my students, this is one of their favorite poses, so I wanted to include this. And again, remember, you can have legs long or keep the knees bent. If you're using pillows, you might find a really tiny pillow or a rolled up towel for the one that is between the shoulders, and then maybe stacking a couple pillows for the one behind the head. So we'll stay here for just a few breaths. And then to come out of this, we'll bend the knees. And then very carefully, to come out, you might want to either first remove one or both blocks, or you can just roll to the side, rolling off your props. Setting them off to the side. And then we'll all come to that option that I gave before of knees to chest. Maybe staying still, or you can rock those knees side to side. Add some circles in here. And then bring the feet to the floor. We're going to just start to windshield wiper the knees gently from one side to the other. This is like a flowing twist. Arms can come out alongside the body. And you might stay here with this gentle flow from one side to the other, or you could turn this into more of a static twist, dropping both knees over to the left side, maybe stacking them one on top of the other. Turning your head in either direction, so it might feel good to turn your head away from your knees. If that's not comfortable though, maybe looking up towards the sky. And then either continuing to flow, or we can bring both knees to center. And then we can drop the knees over to the right side. Turning your head away from the knees if that's appropriate for today. Maybe closing your eyes, letting your gaze go inward. Taking just a couple more breaths right here. And inhaling back to center. So making any final adjustments that you need in your body so you can come into final relaxation. So that might be with knees bent, knees dropping in towards each other, or you can extend the legs so that the feet are wider than the hips, lifting through the chest, letting the shoulders come under the body a little bit so we can find that openness, that space in the heart. Allowing the eyes to close once again if that's appropriate. Remember, if not, you can leave the eyes open. We'll just allow our bodies to connect to the earth. Feeling every part of your body touching the ground. And allowing the body to soften and surrender. Sinking just a little deeper into the earth. Dissolving any tension. Using the breath to just allow it all to dissolve away. And if you have the time, you could choose to stay right here. Or for now, we'll start to invite some movement into the body. Bending the knees to gently roll to one side. Pressing the top hand into the ground, pelvis lift to a comfortable seat. And bring hands together at the heart. Thank you so much for allowing me to guide your practice today. Namaste. Have a wonderful day. Namaste.